Thank you for inviting me to this event. I'm quite honored to speak and to represent today the new Association for Fire Protection from Romania, AFP. It's the name, and yeah, we are very new, and we are hoping to change a lot of things regarding fire regulation and acknowledgement of fire as a major issue in Romania. So, allow me to start. Romania, known a lot for being a country in the Southeastern Europe, beautiful landscapes, beautiful women, vampires, sometimes nearly as dangerous, and something most of us, most of the participants know, post-communist realities. Post-communist realities means, on one side, a legacy of administration, of a certain type of administration, and on the other side, a lot of problems related to its buildings and the concepts related to building. All this, of course, merged on the mentalities from Eastern Europe, where communism has ruled for so many decades. I'm sure most of you know, but we'll talk about this more later. So, I see a few major factors related to fire safety. In Romania, we have, like in many other areas, a booming insulation market. It's growing, but as you know, it's not always growing. The fire safety part is not growing in the same direction. Most of the times, with this booming insulation market and the booming of construction, we grew. The construction sector grew almost 20% in pandemics. We are creating a fragile system. On the other hand, fire safety became a major political issue in the last couple of years, but we'll see its specific, its characteristics. Of course, we have that classic post-communist administration that is not always moving as fast as it should and as it could, dealing with issues like fire safety, among others. When we are talking about earthquakes of buildings in Romania, it was mostly, until recently, about earthquakes. Yeah. Fire safety, not quite an issue. Few people thought about fire safety, thinking it's about personal mistakes. Okay, you let something on fire and then the whole building took fire, so it's your fault. A lot of people were thinking in this way. Earthquakes, our main concern was about earthquakes, and that was because we had a devastating one in 1977. It destroyed a lot of buildings. We lost almost 2,000 people during that earthquake, including some famous figures, including one of the most beloved actors in Romania. And interestingly, it was also one of the reasons why the dictator Nicolae Ceausescu used as an excuse to destroy a large part of the old city center in Bucharest, where he built the extremely large palace of the parliament, palace of the people, what like it was then named. And a lot of the legacy of the city was erased in this way. 2015, things have changed a lot in the way fire safety is seen as a major public issue. We have the fire in a club that was called Collective. That's the right name. We had 65 people died in that fire, and a lot more were injured. It was a concert that night, and that was a tragedy that started a whole chain of issues. It started a political and social change. You know, immediately because of that fire, 40,000 people were in the streets immediately. They asked for the government to resign because they saw that the corruption and the mismanagement led to such a tragedy. It was that fire club, of course. It was the internal insulation, acoustic insulation, that burned in a few seconds. If you cannot believe it, if you see the images, in a few seconds it spread everywhere, and and that was a major shock. The government resigned in the end. Fire became a major political issue. A year later, the same party was back in power. Interestingly, it won the elections. We had a year with a technocratic government. There were some issues with the laws to weaken anti-corruption, or better say to promote corruption. We had about 500,000 people in the streets, 300,000 only in Bucharest only. You know, it was not about fire, but it was the same, the same core, the same movement that started because of the fire in Collective. It has continued to put pressure afterwards on the political side, and it spread from fire to other major issues like corruption, which they see as linked. A few numbers. We have a lot of fires in Romania. Of course, most of them are small fires that are extinguished rapidly. About 20% of them are in buildings. Of course, we have now the context is related to the COVID pandemics. So everyone is talking about this, and of course, the part related to fire and the part related to hospitals has remained. Fire is still a major political issue, even with the recent changes of governments. We had some fires at COVID hospitals, which is very interesting. We had issues related to electrical equipment. Of course, in intensive care, the need for oxygen also creates an environment where fires can spread extremely rapidly. Yeah, because of course of the oxygen tubes and so on. And the political effects of fire are continuing. So, for example, recently the Minister of Health was fired by the Prime Minister, and with hospital fires used as one of the reasons, which was a pretext. Of course, there were other things involved, but just to see that fire in hospitals, fire in general, and fire in hospitals are major political issues that are used in the political arena. Of course, with the fires, we are starting to see a focus on safety. A lot of vulnerabilities in hospitals. Oxygen, of course, still a factor because it's needed in intensive therapy. There was we have these numbers. In the last 10 years, we had 16 major hospital fires, but we had 5 major hospital fires or significant hospital fires only in the last 6 months with this COVID situation. Another tragedy could happen, of course, anytime. There's an effort to change things continuously. I don't think it's that well focused from the authorities. Not very structured, not very coordinated. We have a lot of institutions who are dealing with buildings, but on this issue of fire safety, I think they could be better coordinated, better structured. And for example, the ministry that deals mainly with constructions, the Ministry of Development, it's a huge ministry. It's like 3 or 4 ministries in just one place, but it's also, you know, very focused on other things like delivering money to local administration and not so much on buildings. And that means not a lot of people work strictly on building legislation, strictly on fire inspection. They simply don't have enough people. They are, I don't think they are, you know, using their resources in the best manner. Coming back to hospitals and fires, December 2020, we had a fire in Piatra Neamț. That's a city in northeastern Romania. The intensive therapy section, of course, with COVID, people burned down. Oxygen supply, of course, fueled the fire. 15 people died. 2 people were injured, including a doctor who saved patients. And last week he received an award from the World Health Organization for getting in the fire and saving patients. Of course, he was injured significantly as well. Immediately afterwards, the inspector for emergency situations started some controls in the hospital, and only on a partial, you know, conclusion, they found in just a few weeks 2,000 problems in hospitals related to fire safety. And like I said, these are only partial data. Yeah, so they haven't checked every aspect, of course. So there are major issues, and there are hospitals who still don't have the fire agreement from the firefighters, you know, or some of them use temporary ones. January 2020, we had another fire. This time in Bucharest. It's all the most important institution dealing with COVID. Matei Balch Institute, like it's called. Again, the intensive therapy section burned. 20 people died this time. A lot of them died afterwards. And of course, there was a lot of smoke intoxication. Sorry, just... What really changed in terms of policies and the legislation, considering the 2015 fire, which shocked the society and provoked a chain of unintended or very surprising consequences. You know, it was a black swan. Not a lot. We have, like we will see, in many areas, we have a very old legislation, you know. The answer, of course, is why? When this fire in 2015 and with those afterwards, but the fire in 2015 created major implications, had major implications. Why not the legislation? Why the legislation was not improved? It's in the details, you know. So there was a lot of pressure, of course, on the corruption side with the people in the streets. They deal with fire, deal with safety, but the movement was not very specific. This is the issue. Even if there is a pressure for change, if you don't have the exact instruments and the right platform to put pressure on the right spot, the changes will not come. Or let's say will not come in time, will not come in an adequate form. This is the major issue. The pressure should be specific, because you say, okay, we took some measures related to fire safety. Okay, but you didn't do it on the technical norms, the all-important technical norms related to fire safety. And you know, the protest movement does not know these things, these specific things. We know the fire norm is too technical. On a general level, there is pressure, but it does not reach the right way all the time. Of course, it's also in the administrative capacity and political control. You're talking about, like I said, ministries that are not well dimensioned to deal with all the problems, including those related to safety, to fire safety more specifically. It's also an issue of political control. You know, political control over hospitals, management, of course, over schools management, and so on. And political control means that the managers respond, first of all, to their political interest and less to the general political public and to their everyday issue of keeping hospitals safe, among others. I was talking to you about that fire norm. We have a fire norm which is called P118. It's from 99, so 22 years old. It will soon be 23 years old. A technical norm is, this technical norm is probably the most important single issue related to fire safety. There have been a lot of times where they try to change this norm. But there were administrative issues that blocked the revision, a huge bureaucracy, and of course there was interest to block the revision of this fire norm, you know, and because not everyone is interested in making buildings safer. Not everyone is interested in how can I say, investing more money into buildings, you know, even if they are safer, they are also, you know, cheaper. They are also they cost more, you know, so the profit is not the same. And there are all kinds of interests that have blocked the revision of this norm. Fortunately,
Lucian, you have 1 more minute, and because we have also a few questions for you, and so thanks.
Okay, it's in a revision now in 2021. We hope we will finish this. We also have a good renovation strategy with fire safety that has a significant part in the renovation strategy, and we fought with this through the Coalition for Fire Safety. That's like a predecessor of this association. Constant verification, attention to components, focus on electrical equipment, and many other things that you can find in this renovation strategy. And it's essential, of course. Romania will renovate massively in the next couple of years, and it's basically forced to do this. Thank you. That was all. Thank you for your attention.